Hey guys, Adam from Splendid Sports here, joined by a legendary. I guess I used to call you a legendary commenter or commentator on YouTube Sports Cards, but you made your debut. Actually, I'm proud to say it was on Turn Back the Clock a couple weeks ago after I left. So
Right.
unfortunately, I missed out on your debut.
Well, the
I had
excitement level after you left, it went way down, so I had to jazz it up for you a little.
I said, talk about an upgrade. I leave and the
Yeah.
legendary Mike Petty comes on. That's a great
Oh,
upgrade,
that's
right?
great. Thank you so much for the invite, man. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and then I saw you on Four Collectors recently. So I got a couple questions for you before we get into. I figured a good game to play. I hadn't done this in a while, so I might be a little rusty. Is 3 and 3. This will be episode 34. I hadn't done one in a while, but I figured, first time talking with somebody like Mike, it's always a fun game to play. 3 and 3. So that's what we're gonna do. Mike's
All
gonna
right.
3 of his favorite cards, and then 3 cards that are on his want list. But Mike, before we get into that, I heard you say I got to ask you on Four Collectors. Mike Petty's not your real name. You mentioned that. That's your screen name, so to speak. But it was you came up with it after Tom Petty, right? You said you're a huge Tom Petty fan.
Right. That's right.
Now I had to bring this because I'm a huge Tom Petty fan too. That Tom Petty was my first concert I ever went to. This was 1999 Tweeter Center in Mansfield, Massachusetts. That was my first concert and maybe the best one I've ever been to.
I'll tell you what, I've been to so many I can't count them, and they are one of the best bands out there. I mean, I guess I'm partial to them. I've listened to them since high school, but I think I have a better appreciation for them later in life, and I think I was on every tour there in the last 10 or 15 years. I was kind of blessed to meet somebody on the golf course out here that was in the band, believe it or not,
Really?
for over 30 years. Yeah. And I just struck up a good friendship with them. And I'd always, badger them for tickets whenever they were in town. I paid for them. He always appreciated that. But yeah, anyway, that was and I've never had a bad show. And it's every Friday out here at 3 o'clock is Tom Petty Day. My friends know that they can stop by and have a beer, and the neighbors know it too. Believe me.
And it's universal, his music, because even my kids, my 3 and 4-year-old daughters, they love Tom Petty songs. So it's
it is quite amazing. Yeah, it's a generational thing, which is great. Yep. And I'm passing it down too. So
I thought that was cool. So anyway, tell me about what made you just out of the blue just decide, all right, I'm coming on after all those years, I think, right? You just make,
I think it's just trusting you guys. I mean, just like it started with Orlando, maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, something like that. Just reached out to him and we got in contact. I don't know how we exchanged numbers somehow, and just talking about baseball cards. And then he would give me a call. I'd call him, and then he kept bugging me. Yeah, come on, you should go on, show some of your cards, do it, start a channel. I go, no, I'm not starting a channel. I just don't have it in me. I think that what you guys, and that's the other thing, you guys put so much into your channels, time it takes, the productions, the editing, the stuff like that. The cards are just fantastic. You show so many different. I've learned so much, even as an old time collector from you guys, and I just really thought it was the right time to come on and try to just have some fun, really.
Man, you came out firing too. When you came
you got to come out. Yeah, you got.
you were throwing
shot fire out of a cannon, right?
I loved it. You quickly became like many people's favorite YouTube star just from that one appearance. You lit it on fire, Mike.
It was legendary too. I mean, and that edit that Theo did, for the next show, that pregame. That was just my wife just loved it. She thought it was hilarious.
Dark Mike. How do you feel about that nickname?
Dark Mike, right? I don't care what you call it. Just as long as you call me.
Yeah.
And they remembered me.
Orlando for getting me your number when I reached out to him. So thank you, Orlando.
Thank you, Orlando's right. Yeah. Great guy.
So so I want to now I haven't seen really much of your collection other than what you've shown on a couple of those videos. But
shown pretty much everything. You're going to see a lot of repeats tonight. But they were just one, two, just fire it. But I mean, I don't know what I'm doing literally with the audio, with the lighting, with the phones, and that's the part that really scares me more than anything, is just not knowing what the hell I'm doing. Like literally the audio on that second show with that iPad I use, a brand new iPad, and it was just horrible. Somebody mentioned it was hard to listen to, and I said, yeah, if it was me, I would have just turned it right off. I couldn't take it,
Well,
It
you
was
look and
bad.
you sound great now. You're way
Oh,
better
good.
than me. I got this weird light above me here that I can't get out of, but that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. I've beaten the
We're here to
expert.
look at your cards, not mine on this one. So
I'll see what
let's
I can do.
let's pull out your first one that you want to show of your. We don't say three favorite, but three of your favorites. Just
Yeah,
to.
so I'm gonna just basically, mine are all my favorites, I guess, are just based on baseball card stories and how I got them. When I started thinking about it and what other people, they're not necessarily, some are my best, but some aren't always just my best cards. But the way I've got them and meaningful to me, I think that's what kind of like your show's about. And so we'll take a look at those. And that's unfortunately for you guys, I have more than three. So I'll tell you the story. So
Yeah.
the number three story is basically why I try to tell a lot of people, hey, everybody says, oh, buy what you like or what. And I think I've just I always liked the new cards and the error cards and all these crazy things, but I also was mindful of the older cards and what they meant to collectors. And I think like one of my the first thing that I ever did was I started trading back in the 1980s all the new cards for old ones. And I've always been mindful of the old cards, like I mentioned. And I mentioned these trades. And so in 1989, when that Billy Ripken F face card was really popular, everybody wanted it. Me and my friends, we knew a wholesaler. We bought cases, boxes. We opened them up. We each got 6 or 7 of them, and then we started to go sell them at baseball card shops. And they were all out of them, but people, we showed them. And I met a guy there. He became a friend of mine. And he said, hey, would you consider trading? I go, yeah, sure, let's go see what you have. We went over to his house. He was a big Ernie Banks fan, and he had every Ernie Banks card. He had like doubles and triples. So I actually got like his, one of his worst Ernie Banks cards. And with it, I also had a cello pack, which had the Ripken card on the top. And you could see the F face on the bat. And it was unopened, obviously. So that was very appealing to the error card collectors, which I
Mhm.
could care. I just think they're so overrated. I think they're ridiculous. So I ended up trading. Here's my first card or 2 cards that I got in those trades. So let's show the first one here.
No,
This is
beautiful.
an Ernie
Bank book.
Banks 54. And
Wow.
this was graded. Whoops, let's see if I can get that better for
Oh
you.
yeah, there we go. That looks perfect.
Yeah. This was graded, right when the new labels came out. I sent these in both together. This one and then the other one I got at the same time in the same deal. As I recall too, I think I've got more than this. I got other cards too, but these were the main ones. I got a halo there. I can't. It's hard to get out of there. Can you
The
see that?
yellow, the color on that just pops. That
It
is
it really is great, and this one they were graded. It's funny they were graded about like about 3 months apart, but this one didn't get the new label. It had the old label.
yeah.
And that's when
Oh
they
man, look
kind of
at that.
started off. But I mean, these were great, and so that's why and I love Koufax. And he'll come up in a later story why this card means so much to me. Really, not only that I got them together in that, in that deal, and that's why they're like part of my the favorite deal type of thing. But
That's a great deal.
I mean, that was a great deal, and like I tell people now, if you see a lot of these kids or a lot of dealers, they do trade. Like if my son was watching the show the other night, guy traded Xander Bogarts or whatever his name is
Oh
for a
yeah.
Jackie Robinson.
What Jackie Robinson was it?
I mean, I'm going, yeah, I don't know, who cares? I think it was a 54 or something, or 50, or
Anywhere.
I don't care as long as it's one of his playing days cards, and
Yeah.
I don't care which Bogart, if it's a signed Kaboomy
Yeah. Right.
or whatever.
He
But
was
anyway,
Xander was a good player for the Red Sox, but yeah,
he's
I think
good.
that's a Jackie card.
Yeah, he's pretty good, but he was no Jackie, unfortunately. I think, but that's the way to do it. I think that he's turning in, which they're good cards, and I'm sure somebody will like them. And I just think that those cards are going to continue to go down over time. 99% of them. Some will hold their value. Some may go way up, and you may hit a big jackpot. But I'm not betting on it. I'd rather bet on, like I said. I mean, how much is that Ripken card worth now? If just assuming they're at 10, I mean, is it worth 200, 300? I don't know, 500. These cards have gone up, you know, a little bit more. And to me, they're a lot more satisfying than looking at an F face card. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I was never a big error card guy either. I
Yeah.
understand why people are just trying to always collect something that is rarer or that someone else doesn't have. But for me, it was always like I always wanted the legends, the best players. Like I
Yeah.
have a hard time spending money on players that don't really
Well,
resonate.
you're a baseball fan. When people say, "Well, why you want me to collect what you like?" I'm going, "No. How about you learn the history of the game a little bit,
Right.
find out where it's been, and watch it through different eyes, and maybe you'll get an appreciation." I mean, I barely saw Banks play, and I don't really recall him seeing him. Although I know I must have. Like I do remember Clemente towards the end, and Mays and Aaron. I remember those guys a little bit as a kid. But I just who doesn't love the stories with Ernie Banks? Let's Play too. The guy's smiling all the time. Just was a great ambassador for the game, and he revolutionized the shortstop position for all other players to come after him, including your Derek Jeters and guys like that. And those guys all appreciate him. So those anyway. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So the takeaway is you fleeced that guy. That was you
Yeah.
absolutely
I mean,
fleeced
I
that
guess. But it took all these years to flee. And
guy. Right.
most importantly, I held on to them
Right.
because these were probably the only two I was able to keep when I sold my collection in the majority of it in '95, I think. I was a set builder, so I had sets back from like '68 all the way up, and I had closets full of stuff, all from the '80s and stuff. But I managed to hold these two back, and then later, when I got back into it, I got them graded, and so that was what sprungboard me into the vintage game, pretty much to where what I have now. So
Those are, I mean, yeah. When I saw that, when you showed that Koufax, it just like I hadn't seen a Koufax rookie that like vivid, and maybe I don't know, like that because the ones I see now, a lot of them are like faded, a little more faded. So, but when you see one that has the yellow that pops like that, I was like,
right,
whoa, awesome.
it's bright, it's nice, it's a great card, classic.
So, all
All right,
right,
so
so that was,
are we on to our next one, our next
yeah, that was
double?
number one. Those two
I'm
together.
sorry that I changed the name of your show here to 5 on 3
It always
because
happens.
because so the next one here is a story that I told. It was right before the COVID. It was probably like in October of 2019. I want to think when it was coming from China, and in here we weren't really too concerned about it yet, because I know that I went out of town even January of 20 in the very beginning when I went to Arizona for the Super Bowl and for a golf tournament there. And we weren't that concerned about it, but we were talking about it amongst ourselves about the stock market and what to, be careful and all this kind of shit, what was coming. So about 3 months before that, I was on Net 54, and a guy had known that I had made it known that I was looking for these two cards. I didn't know how I would get them or how much they were going to be really, or what I could afford at the time. And he just emailed me one day, giving me a smorgasbord of cards. But the two main cards that I did pick up that day from him that mean a lot to me. And so these are pretty much, I think, amongst my favorite cards. And the first one is this. So let's see if we can get
Oh,
that. Oh my gosh, I got too much glare there. So can
I
we
got
see
it.
this?
Yep. Try it over on the other side a little more. Yeah, like other way. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. And yep, I can see it. So we got a Willie Mays rookie, 51 Bowman. Again,
51
that's
Bowman.
just
This is on the same deal, and the same great guy, friend of mine, buddy of mine. Now he's a buddy of mine. But I just love the colors of it. The fact that he said to me, he says, "Do you like corners or do you like centering?" I go, well, I'm mostly a corners guy. He says, well, you'll love my maze. I'm not so sure about the next one. And he says, but it doesn't. And on the back, you know, he says it doesn't have any wax on it. Look at that beautiful back. You can
Wow.
see that.
5.5 on that card. Woo.
5.5. I mean, and it's a beauty. And yeah, it's off center, obviously. I guess I don't know if it's not quite considered a miscut like some of these are.
Oh
But I
man,
mean,
that's
it's just a gorgeous card. I just love it. And so, and now the other card that he said, well, this one you won't like, but it has centering, and that's this one.
oh, I didn't know you had that one.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, this
So we're
is a
looking at a
this is a
5.
great this is a great card. It got a 5, but I don't. Can you see the? It's like what I like about this BVG. Whether I think this was graded like in 2008. I think from looking at the website, you know, it's got those subgrades, and I don't normally
Yeah.
like them, but on this card, it makes so much sense, just
Nine, is
because
that say 9
the
centering?
it's got like 9 centering. Let me read
Wow.
this.
9 centering on a
Edges 6, corners 4.5, surface 7. So again, no print marks, which is just, you know, and no gum marks on the back, which is really rare for these cards.
right.
These set 51s are really tough. So that's why this ranks number 2 on these two together are number 2 on my list, because I couldn't pick one. In all honesty, like you said, which one's your favorite? I got them both in the same deal, and I love them both the same. I mean, they're just both great.
Well, I
But
do that with my
amongst
own collection. I'll pair cards together. So like when I'm making like a binder or whatever, or just looking at them or showing them or taking a picture for whatever social media.
right.
I like to group cards together like as a unit, right? Like, oh, these go together because it could be for many different reasons.
Now I
But
know that as much as you like Mantle, I know you wouldn't like that though, because it wouldn't fit in your registry. I should send it to you, and you could crack it out, and you can get it because you're so lucky with your crossovers and grades. You want to do a
yeah.
video on it?
Look at that. That is, it's funny. With the registry, I don't compete on. I mean, most of the things I do, I don't even do for a registry. I just do like the mantle run, but I don't really go for like rankings. I just did it more just to complete it. Like, no,
Yeah,
there's 100.
and I
You
don't
know,
do. I just decided from day one that I wasn't going to do it because
right.
we're all competitive, and you can get caught up in that thing. I can see, even though I call everybody anal Eddies in it, I can see getting caught up in it because we're all anal collectors in some way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
and it just is what it is. But
Oh, we do. We talk a lot about centering. It
yeah,
is important. A
because it
lot of
is important. I mean, you can see how the cards are beautiful. I mean, when they're centered like that. And
but every
if
card
I
that
if
you've
I
shown
wasn't
so
so
far,
old, I would probably consider making my whole collection like I see, like what Dylan's doing. We talked about that. I mean, he's still a young kid. What's to stop him from selling all his sevens and turning them all into every one of them centered? He's got all the time in the world right now. If I
yeah.
was, I'm too old for it myself.
But with those every card you've shown so far, they just pop. Whether they're centered or not. I mean, the coloring
For,
and the image, and it's just like
and I
those
try to buy
really
them
jump
for the
off.
grade. I mean, the first ones, I didn't buy them, but on the cards in general, I'm trying to buy them for the grade and for the price. The best card that I can afford, whether it's that's really the way I bought them. And then because I'm impatient Eddie, I pulled the trigger. I'm not waiting for, these cards I waited because I didn't know quite how they would come to me. I wasn't going to pay eBay prices, and it's hard getting a card like that. You put that card on Net 54, and there's going to be, 30 dealers offering the guy money. He's not, there's more dealers on there than anything. For these guys are just churning cards over. But and for a collector to get in there is pretty rare.
I got to say,
So
I'm starting to think you got a pretty good collection. It's starting to
it's okay. It's okay, but it's not as good as some of these guys. Believe me, it's got a long way to go. I'm still adding. I'm still a young man, I think, in a lot of ways, but we'll see. And I
You
don't
got time,
know. Yeah, you think you've got time, but you never know.
hopefully. All right.
Who's to know? Right.
So that was that was 2 as a group, and now let's see 3. Number 3.
All right. So my favorite card. I'll tell this story is. I mean, so I told this a little bit on the first time I was on, but I'll go into it a little bit more detail this time. So when I was about 13, 14 years old, I just had something in me that wanted to get old cards. Even then, I had collected 72s or 69, 70, 71, 72, 73s, 74s. And at that time, the hobby was, was pretty jumping pretty good at that point. There was a couple of publications out. I think one was called The Trader Speaks.
Yeah.
The other one was called Sports Hobbyist back then. And you'd get it came like I don't know how often, maybe you'd get them like once every 90 days or something like that. They were just looked like they were printed out, and then they had names of dealers in there with a bunch of cards listed. And every month I would, or every time I opened that book, I remember seeing 52 Mickey Mantle, $75. And the same ad would say Honus Wagner T206, $1,500. So I'm thinking, oh man, I would love to have that on the Swagger, but I'm never gonna get that. I have my allowance was $5 a week. Whatever the hell am I? So you work and you do whatever can. I remember just save instead of going out and buying the new pack, saving the money, and it took me a while mowing lawns and then handing the money over to my mom for her to write me a check to this guy. And I do believe and again I know the guy was like one of the first dealers with Kit Young. The guy's name was, I believe it was Larry Frisch, who was
Oh
a
yeah.
dealer back then. And it may or may not be him that had the ad. And I don't want to besmirch him or anything, his legacy, because he was like one of the first big dealers around. And I'm sure he didn't meet, because they would have you send them want list. What cards do you want? You mail it to them, what cards you want, and then they would give you a price back. They would mail you pricing. Here's what I have, and all the cards were considered in pretty nice. You didn't get a choice of centering or take a look at them, or
Right.
they just came. They would come in the mail 6 weeks later. He would get them all together or whatever, and so. But anyway, I did that. I remember my mom telling me I was crazy. My dad said I was a nutcase, for doing it, and I did it. And I sent the $75 out and kept waiting. And like 6 weeks later, I ended up getting a Sandy Koufax rookie card, not this one, because I had sold that during another prior purge of the collection in the probably in the, I want to say 79 or 80, after the fact. And I got a Roy Campanella and a $25 credit memo. I was a 56 Campanella. So the Koufax was nice, but there was something about that too that I couldn't tell. It looked like there might have been like a Marks a lot or something on it. Like it always kind of bugged me.
Yeah.
It wasn't as nice as this one I traded for later, but I ended up selling that within this, a whole bunch of things. But it just that, and I guess just growing up at that point too, I got into cars, girls, high school, sports, like a lot of us guys do. I sold off most all of the good cards, and I probably got a couple $100. It was a guy on my baseball team. He was starting a little business, and he was way ahead of the curve. He was buying and selling and doing. I had him over in my room. He picked out all the cards and how much. I told him, and he said, "Okay," counted out. But it kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth even then. And one of the reasons why now I'm so against being scammed and all these scams. It just kind of works on me because I felt scammed. I didn't get what I wanted.
Right.
So basically, fast forward now to about 2000, I think again 2017. I want to say I'm thinking about getting another, replacing that mantle. And I start looking on eBay and how am I going to get one? And I can't pay eBay prices. I don't want to trim one. I got to find something. I ended up finding a collector who was local. He was about 20 minutes from me. I reached out to him. He called me back. He brought the card. We met for lunch at TGIF Fridays. He was a really great guy. He had another job, and I don't know if he was selling it for a friend. He really wouldn't tell me. And I just figured, if that card comes to me, it's not. I don't care what I saw the pictures of it already. I did a little research with VCP. I go, I'm gonna buy it no matter what happens. He's not leaving with that card. So we had a nice lunch. I picked up the tab and then and we made a handshake deal right then and there for the card. Now it was about $200. I'm sorry, 200 times more than the $75 that I originally paid for the first one. So somehow that card went up 200 times in 43 years. So
Yeah.
I'd say that it's been quite well. So with that said, and then we went to the bank. I went there and took out a bunch of wads full of cash, had them in my pocket. We walked across to Chase Bank, which was his bank. He was sweating bullets like crazy. I'm going, what are you so nervous about? I hope that's your card, or I hope it's not a counterfeit or something. But anyway, so this was the card. And
All right, hold on. Before I'll put you on solo, but I want to do a little double action here.
look at that. Yeah, your card's beautiful. We looked at that. I've seen that before. Now
So you
look
have
at that.
an
Look,
SGC3. Again, the color just jumps off the screen. Mine's more
isn't it? I mean, it's got to be a 3 for some reason. I mean, somebody thought that it was good enough for that, and I got a great cash price on it, so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a card that has some redeeming value, and and at a decent price. So I guess maybe I'm not cheap, I wouldn't say, but I'd say that I am mindful of the cost of the card overall, and I'm willing to accept, for a better price or to get, more of a percentage off. I'm willing to accept, especially on a card like this. When like I told you, the guy wasn't getting out of there with. I told him, you don't think that I complained about it. He said, this thing is cut up like with scissors. I mean, you must be kidding me. But in the end, it's still it was a beautiful card. I
the
love it.
52 tops mantle. When you hear people say it's overrated or it's all the you hear a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, is on the other end of it, people say it's the most iconic card. It's the card in the hobby. What do you feel about that? Do you feel like it is
Well,
overrated or?
I mean, I guess maybe in some respects, but I mean, then there's always going to be people like me. I mean, who I've wanted it for 43 years. So a lot happened in 43 years.
Right.
I must tell you. I mean, I wasn't able to afford a card like that my entire life. Even from the $75, probably all the way through. So until that time, until it was my time. And that's the way too I look at things. That I'm never trying to time any market. When you have the money and the right deal comes up, that's when you do it. Because I mean, it's like like I mentioned, when you buy a house, when you have a 20% down payment, and you're gonna live in a house you want to die in and in a neighborhood you want to die in, then that's the time to buy it. It doesn't matter if it goes up or down. It really does. Because I mean,
Right.
the house that I'm in now, I paid all the money back in 2005, probably. It went down 150,000. I didn't care because I just kept paying off. I'm going to pay it off because I was going to live here forever. Now it's worth 5 times as much,
Yep.
and it's paid off on top of it. So that what do I if it goes down to zero right now? I really don't care because I'm not moving and I'm not leaving, and the taxes will go down with it.
And I will say,
So
as someone who owns like I just showed the 52 mantle too, it doesn't get old. Like every time
it
I look
doesn't.
at it, I still look at it and go, I can't believe I own this card. Like
And
it's still.
you're a young man, and let's God bless that. Hopefully, everything in your life, goes great with your health and
Right.
with kids and college and whatever else you got going. Because literally, I couldn't think about this spending this kind of money without having my daughter out of the house and having her through school, and there were other things that I had to do, and then have my financial future tied up before I would ever spend that kind of a money on a baseball card. That
Well,
I would.
what I
That's
always
why I
say about
admire you guys for doing it.
what I say about this card is it motivates me. It
Yeah,
motivates me to not have to sell it because I am lucky that I'm self-employed, so I have more, I guess, control over what I make as far as income
absolutely.
than most people, I guess, because I have a
Yeah.
performance-based job where I can kind of control how much money I make based on how much effort and time and energy I put
Well,
into it.
that's the other thing. I mean, if I could ever I've given so many people advice and things like that, and mentored younger kids that are they ask me, how do you do this or what do you? And really, it's nothing special, but working for yourself is without a doubt the only way. When I was driving even through this my neighborhood here, and I would go and I would look at these houses, I'm going, how the hell do these people afford this? You have questions like, how am I ever going to do this? I don't know if I can do it or not. I save the money, but then after you go to talk to him, this guy, he owns an auto shop. This guy, owns a brewery. These guys are all business owners too. And the best deal is, I mean, you don't have to be just owning a business. You could be a plumber. Learn QuickBooks, learn plumbing. There's not enough plumbers. Those guys are rich.
Yep.
They work hard. An electrician, an air conditioning guy, whatever it is that you're doing, do it for yourself. That's
Yeah.
really where I mean, my friend said you could always go get another job. And that's the
Yeah.
other thing. I always listen to people that know more than me, and I had friends that went my route before, and we always encourage each other. That's what friends do.
And the thing too
And
about this card, the 52 Mantle, is, yeah, you're parking a lot of money in that card, but I guess I would say it's the one card that I don't really worry about. If I have to sell it, I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to get my money back.
you'll be
So
able to get it fast. You're always going to be able. Somebody's going to want it, and you'll
yes,
always be. You always find a buyer for it, and
if I
and
was
that's the
over
way I
here
look.
buying Zion Williamson cards for the same amount of money, then I would call myself irresponsible. but
That,
but
that, that really is. I mean, and spending this kind of money, if you don't have it and you're putting it on a credit card or something, it can be considered irresponsible. I would consider it irresponsible. I wouldn't do it. Maybe I might have. I mean, I might have tried or something to, when you're younger. But as you get older, you just realize there's just no way to get to that upper echelon or the place where you want to be, other than just hard work and time. And like is working for yourself, it's just basically one foot in front of the other.
yep,
Every day you're building on something and repeat business, and you just call people back. Too many
yep,
people these days, they don't even call people back.
no.
And you know what I mean? So by just doing that and being somewhat persistent, you can get quite a long way in this world. You're up against a lot of dummies.
Well, before we move on to the three cards that are on your
Oh
want list,
my, I almost forgot.
no, I gotta recap. You showed just phenomenal examples of Ernie Banks rookie, Willie Mays rookie, Mantle rookie, 52 tops, Koufax rookie, 52 tops Mantle, Koufax rookie, all phenomenal examples. I might have missed one, but
And I'm anti-rookie. I don't even give a shit about rookies, especially the double head or the double or triple players. I don't necessarily collect those. I have
the
a
combo
couple of
card.
them. The combo cards, yeah.
Yeah,
I always prefer the second years, just because other than the Nolan Ryan, the bench I think I have because I collected those as a kid, but I don't really think I have many others, and I don't care necessarily about the rookies. Like if the Clemente was a dual player card, I wouldn't have that either. And for whatever it's worth. All right, so let's get into it. Now we're really into just three, right? Now that I showed
yeah. Let's
five, we talk
the
about three.
man who just showed some absolute fire.
All
What
right.
could be on his want list? What does he
Well,
not
now I
have?
mean, now you're going to see. Now you're going to see how my needs have kind of changed a little bit. The first one I have written down here, and I have to read it because I just kind of started out a little bit with this. It's a 1912 T227 Series of Champions Ty Cobb.
Okay, let's see if I can
And I
find an
think
image
you
over
call
here.
it honest long cut. And please, I want to see the prices because I don't want to get scared here. So maybe
All
you
right,
can tell me.
is that it right
Oh,
there?
that is it. And that's a gorgeous card, isn't it? If I could find that like that in the one.
Woo, look at the colors.
That's what I
Uh,
mean. I'm so prone to those colors. I don't even care if it's centered or not. I just don't want it run over by a truck.
so just to give you a price range on this one, sold for $7,800 on December 3rd at
Ouch, let go of my arm.
REA.
Damn.
And yeah,
I'm sure I was bidding on it too, but I never win anything on that channel, on that
they're
show.
tough. Those
There
auction
you go.
houses are tough to win cards on.
Well, and it's just so hard to bid on it because, like I've mentioned, it's a 30% beat for me. And I
Right.
probably could get a resale number or whatever, but that's just lie. I'm not a liar. and I don't want to have to mix it in with my business, and so I just have to pay the sales tax like a man, and
On
then the
another
20%.
live stream or episode or something, I want to have you back on because I do want to talk about auction houses because I have a lot of thoughts, but we'll save that for another time. But I do have
Awesome.
kind of spicy opinions on the auction
Oh, I
houses.
can't wait to hear. All right, so
So
that's that one. So I mean, if I found a car that looked like that at a show, like I decided I am going to go to this Strongsville show in Ohio coming
yep.
up, and if I find a card like that, I will drop it. I will drop it.
I've
I'll
never
have.
seen that card, but this is the first time I've ever laid eyes on this card, and man,
Really?
that is a
I
beauty.
mean,
Beautiful.
I also need the green cob too, so don't think I won't. I mean, if I can find that one instead, I'll buy that one. But this one's on my hit list. Okay, so the next one is also, and it's kind of an offbeat, and it's a 1922 E121 American Caramel Baby Roof Montage.
Let's see what we got here.
Yeah.
Series.
I've seen a couple of these for sale, and I know Orlando has one, but he's never going to sell it to me.
Is this it?
That's it. No,
Wow.
that's not
No.
it. But
Baby.
that I like that one too, and I don't know exactly what that one. The one I'm looking at is called the Montage, but I like that one
Oh, here it
too.
is. I got it right here.
Yeah, that's the one, the Montage. Yeah, just because I think that's a classic card. But if I found the other one and it was similar priced or whatever, and it was nicer and somebody had it and I had the money, I'm all over it. And I know
Okay,
that all
this
these collectors all have them. I know Orlando's got one. He wouldn't sell it for his right gonad. I throw the kitchen sink at him, but I'll probably have one before he ever gets around to selling his.
see, I'm not very well versed on pre-war stuff.
I'm
So
not either, and that's why I'm kind of getting into it. I mean, like I mentioned from the beginning, is when I started buying all these cards, I kind of went from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then because I wanted to learn what I was doing a little bit and make some contacts, and then by the time I really got to like roofs, I had bought one roof, I think, and one Garrig before the pandemic, and then shit just got out of hand. And
yep.
I didn't buy anything during the pandemic worth any value. It was all raw, just kind of for fun to stay in the game. But I didn't pay any of those ridiculous prices. I just wasn't going to get caught up in it.
So you're looking at around $3,500 for a well-loved copy here.
Oh shit! And what? You're never going to get it. Nobody's going to sell that for 3,500.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, that's way too low.
There's no way. These things are priced for 7 to 10 grand, and then some of them, I don't know I don't even know what grades Orlando's is in, but I like a 3 or 2 or 3. I mean, they're like 17,000, 15 to
So this one sold
20,000.
at Leland's for $3,400 back in
When?
November of 2023, last year.
Oh man, I mean, I just I don't
Some of
see.
these auction
I wasn't.
houses,
I don't
man,
even belong to Leland's.
yeah, I think that's part of the issue sometimes with like some of these cards. They get sold at nothing against Leland's, but I don't think it has as much eyeballs as some of these other places do. So
Like I saw, a couple of the dealers that I've noticed. I mean, they've got them listed for 10,000 and
okay,
more.
that makes more
And I'm
sense.
hoping to get them for 7 or 8,000. A nice
Yeah,
copy.
I love that
But
card. I just love the dual image of Ruth on that one.
and they're growing on me as I start to learn more about them, and whatnot. And that's why it's on my list. And then so the last card on my list, and like I said about that roof too, I still need the red and the yellow. So if something good comes up on that, I'll be all over that. And my wheelhouse on that is probably about a 1.5 to a 2. I think you can
Okay,
find a really nice copy of a 1.5 and stay, under maybe I'm hoping like 8 to 10 grand or something for a night. And it doesn't have to be centered, but it has to have some border.
yep.
All right. So and my last one is a 1915 Cracker Jack Honus Wagner.
Wow.
And I don't own a Cracker Jack. And I see all these crackety crack jacks, and I want one. And there was one, a really nice one on Net 54, and the guy sold it for 16,500. It was a 2.5, and I didn't even really see it, and it sold quick. And I mean, maybe if it was the right time, I may have done it. But
So this
I
one,
just
this is
love
a
it.
SGC2, just sold at Heritage January 26th of 2024 for 11,700 on this.
That'd be nice if I could. I mean, but I just am not that lucky
Yep.
to
Yeah.
get it to pay that. You know what I mean? I would love to get a card like that. If I could buy that tomorrow, I'd say, where do I sign? But and
That
then
might be
any
the best set of all time right there.
it
You know,
really
the
is, and I can't
14.
believe I waited so long to get one. And I'd love to get the Cobb too, but I mean that's it's just out of my range right now. I think I don't know what I would do.
Does he
That could
have one
cause
in 1914 too? Or
You
is
know,
it just
I really don't know. I don't know
okay?
much about the entire series. All I know is I saw that card the other day, and I go, man, that's that. Because the other thing about all those Wagners, that everything with an E that starts with an E, I guess it's a candy issue.
Yeah,
E90, E91, 92, 95. I love them all.
right.
And I actually, if I could find a nice one of those for 10,000 or so, or a little bit less, I would jump on one. And that's why, like this authentic, the A's, the authentic altered, they've started to appeal to me a little bit more. I actually had a deal last week that fell through, and I don't remember the exact one, if it was E91 or something. The guy was selling it. It was he was asking 4,000 or whatever, and we came to a deal after a day or so. And I told him how I always do it. I send a check with tracking, and so that way he can track the check. It's like cash. And I don't like to use PayPal to spend that kind of money. I don't want them in my transaction for
Right.
whatever reason. And I don't want to pay them 3% on top of it to give that guy his money, because they always want net to me. Well, you want net to me? Here's a check. Well, how do I know the check's good? Well, I've got references. I've been doing this for 20 years. Everybody knows my green checks. If you don't, I don't, as far as I know, it's against the law to write a bad check. I'm not going to jail over a $3,000 or $4,000 check. So, and it's good as gold, and you hold it for 3 or 4 days if you want to make sure. That's what I tell him. And so we made the deal, and then he said, "PayPal me. Here's my PayPal." I said, "I don't do PayPal." He says, "Well, I'm gonna have to move on." I go, "All right." But it was an authentic altered Wagner. It was okay. It was got creases here, and I don't know why it was authentic altered. It had decent eye appeal. He liked it because he said, "Oh, it's same year as the T206." He's trying to oversell it. He says it's with him batting. Had a nice and if I could get it for 3 grand or whatever, I would have taken it, and it would have been my first Wagner. Because I told that other story about my other Wagner that was all jacked up when we got that before. That's a whole nother can of worms. But
I just wanted for the Cracker Jacks. I just wanted to have one from either 14 or 15. I got one from 1914, like I guess you'd call more of a common player, Stuffy McGinnis. He was an old Red
I
Sox
like
player.
it.
I just wanted to have one. I just wanted to have one from the set, and it was like a few $100. So I figured, hey, I got a card from that set. It's
Well,
I'm
that's
not
what
gonna,
I want to do. Only I want a Wagner.
yeah, not too bad,
I
right?
don't know.
But you'll have to let me know if and when you get any of those. Keep me posted. I like to keep track.
Okay, I'll text you guys and let you know if I get. But like I said, I don't. I might go to this Ontario show next week. I don't know. I don't think they normally have a lot of vintage, and the one dealer that's there that has all the vintage. I can see his stuff on Facebook. I'm not a big fan of Ontario, to be honest with you. I think I'm just gonna save my budget, hold out until Strongsville, and see if because I heard that that's one of the best shows for vintage, more as much so or much so or more than the national.
So you're going, and
Because
there's a bunch of YouTubers going to that one too. I
that's
heard
what I
that's
hear. Yeah, and I don't know if I haven't really told anybody that I'm going yet, but I did get my room and my
nice.
flight. It's a hell of a flight. I mean, I don't know if you're on the West Coast too, so it's a
Yeah,
two plane flight and
yeah.
7 hours or 8 hours. I'd rather go to Germany. Slow faster. I
Think of
gotta
all
go
the
to
cool guys
Cleveland.
you get to meet, that you've been watching on YouTube and so forth. That'll be cool to
Yeah,
meet all those guys.
it'll be fun. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a few pops and no pun intended. Pops, a few pops.
Well, I just want to thank you first of all for just when you leave comments on not only my videos all these years, but so many everyone else. It really means a lot. It for people that make content when you even if it's a comment where you're making fun of them or you're making
Oh, I'm
jokes.
always trying to joke around and making fun of you guys. I mean, that's part of the fun, you know, busting balls. Oh,
I
you know,
appreciate it.
and
Any
it's hard.
comment.
It's hard. Thanks for sticking with me because I know I can, you know, I can be abrasive. That's just my nature,
No,
especially
but
behind the keyboard.
now that I've talked, or I saw you on those other videos and I've talked to you, now
Yeah.
you can free reign, go for it.
Yeah,
Whatever.
right. Go ahead.
Now I
Call
know
me
where.
whenever. Yeah, but you're like one of the nicest guys in the on the in the whole group, really. I mean, you don't get any you don't ruffle any feathers. So I mean, you're just so
Not
soft
on
spoken and so
video.
respectful.
I got,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm self-employed. I don't want to cause any problems with
Well,
like
now you know
clients.
why Mike
I
Petty
keep it
is.
kind of
I've
under.
got some high profile clients too. They don't need to know.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But I'm having fun with it. Like just doing these, it's all worth it to be able to
yeah.
have a conversation like this. So
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so
all
much for
right.
having me on the show. I mean, I just appreciate you guys, everything you do, and I love this show, and so I'm just honored to be on it. To be honest with you.
Oh, it was an honor to have you, and I look forward to seeing you. Not only hopefully coming back on my channel here, but I hope you'll
Yeah.
go out on some of these other channels too, guys. If you're watching this, invite Mike on your channel. And
Yeah,
have
if you're
some
not tired of the same old stories, because that's all you're going to get from me. I'm an old storyteller.
All right. Well,
Shit.
that's it for 3 and 3, episode 34 with Mike Petty. And I guess I'll show this on the way out here. I'm gonna title this episode "Running Down a Dream."
Oh, I love it.
Mike Petty.
Oh, my beautiful. My favorite song. You know, I've lived that song
I
for
heard you say
35 years, man, and I ran down the dream. All right, man. All the best. Peace. Peace,
All right.
love.
Thanks, guys.
All the best.